Welcome to Category Visionaries, the show dedicated to exploring exciting visions for the future from the founders who are on the front lines building it. In each episode, we'll speak with a visionary founder who's building a new category or reimagining an existing one. We'll learn about the problem they solve, how their technology works, and unpack their vision for the future. I'm your host, Brett Stapper, CEO of Frontlines Media. Now let's dive right into today's episode. Hey everyone, and thanks for listening. Today I'm speaking with Thibaut, founder and CEO of Maltese, a crypto finance management platform that's raised over $9 million in funding. Thibaut, thanks for chatting with me today.
I'm super happy to be here.
And could you go ahead and pronounce your last name for us? I know it's a tricky one.
It's pronounced Sahagian. It's not a French name. It's actually an Armenian name. Tiny country east of Turkey.
Nice. Perfect. Well, glad you said that and I didn't have to. Makes things a lot easier to start things off. So let's start with a quick summary of who you are and a bit more about your background.
Yeah, sure. Very simply, I'm the CEO of Maltese. So Maltese is providing, USD checking accounts, corporate cards, and Web3 financial tooling to Web3 builders. That's what we do. So I started a company a couple of years back, maybe a few words before that, which, will explain a lot what we're doing here. And I guess we'll dig deeper on that. So initially, investment banking stuff, pretty boring stuff, actually. Left everything to join a politician running for president in France. Now, the cool thing about those two experiences, though, is that, it gave me exposure to crypto, first as speculative assets, and second as, a tool for empowerment. I used to work closely with people in the civic tech space, people working on, fraud-resistant voting systems built on Bitcoin at the time. We're talking 2014, 2015 here. And, that's how I realized how a tool of empowerment crypto could be, not just as speculative assets. And this idea of empowerment is really core to what we do. That's why we started the company. We wanted to empower people. We wanted to empower entrepreneurs here, to embrace fully Web3, to build a better web. And the first step towards this vision is actually to provide them with the tools they need, especially financial tools, so that they can, focus on growing the business.
Nice. And a follow-up question there. So it sounds like you're a crypto OG. What was it about crypto that really attracted you initially and made you realize that it was something that you wanted to focus on, so early on? Because 2014 was, way before it was in the mainstream.
Yeah, I guess, building up on my previous, it's always on the people you meet, right? I guess I was fortunate to meet somebody called Richard Caetano, who's actually, so he's from California originally, and, he's been an OG as well, but like even longer than I have been. And he was the one actually helping me understand how you could use a tech for the greater good. So, rapidly, my understanding of crypto went beyond, I can make money out of it, right? And can he really help me understand, go deep, meet those entrepreneurs, working with those very early smart contracts at the time, what we call color coins, for example. And I guess that was the first step. And the second step, and this is my point, he actually was fortunate to join him in his blockchain company. We used to call it the blockchain company, not the Web3 company or crypto company at the time. Raised some funds with the NASDAQ, with some cool LPs in France and in the US. And that's how we actually, realized that we could make this, blockchain thing, not only a tool for empowerment, like generally speaking, but like a B2B solution for companies. And this intersection of, a cool tech, something that could really have an impact on greater good, and, a B2B product that could actually, enable me to talk to fellow founders and builders in the space, really convinced me this was the way to go for me.
Nice. I love it. And we're going to dive deeper into the company here soon, but two questions we'd like to ask just to better understand what makes you tick as a founder. Is there a CEO that you're following the most right now and trying to learn from?
You mean beyond the Binance and FTX CEOs?
Yeah, I should add that. And sorry, we have to rule out Elon Musk as well. Those are the only three that can't name here.
No SBF, no CZ, no Elon Musk. Who do you want me to talk about then, Brad? I guess I don't know whether this is the most inspiring to me, but this is really somebody. Well, yeah, it is somebody who inspired me and has been inspiring me a lot. So I'd like to talk about Robert Leshner, the Compounds Lab CEO. So he was the founder who initially, created the company behind the Compound protocol. So I don't know if everybody's familiar here with what Compound does, but basically they were, I guess, the first or among the first smart contracts protocols to build truly decentralized money markets. in a nutshell, they enable people to actually borrow and lend in a fully decentralized fashion without relying on existing banks. And this was a game changer for the whole thing because it sparked this whole DeFi revolution in 2017. What I love about this guy, first, I love him because he invested in the company. I have to say that. And he was really one of the early backers of the company. He really believed in the vision we had. But I'd say that he is probably the best example of somebody who is a visionary, but not only in terms of tech as an enabler, but as tech. I mean, his vision went way beyond that. He wanted to revolution markets, but with a really, really focused and practical use case, which is, hey, I want to borrow, I want to lend super easy without relying on a bank, and spending hours and hours and talking to my banking manager and able to get this loan. So he had a practical use case. He was visionary. He really, 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 really grinded hard to make this vision happen. He was the first one to actually, build a successful protocol in that space. And it's been, like at the forefront of the revolution that we're all trying to participate in. He has this thing that he always tells: focus, execution, win. And I think this is an inspiring leader for most of, the CEOs in that space, in the Web3 space at least.
Nice. I feel like that applies to all entrepreneurs. Focus, execution, win. I could see that as a tattoo.
Absolutely. It's so easy to forget.
I love that. Let's talk about books. Is there a single book that you can think of that's had the greatest impact on you as a founder?
So many of them. I guess one of the ones I'd like to talk about, and I won't talk about too much about it because people should read it. It's called The Ascent of Money from Neil Ferguson. So he's an economic historian, right? So he talks about how money shaped worlds and how, banking system initially emerged in northern Italy in the 14th century, how we basically financialized our society and how we made money at the basis of everything, like especially during relationships. And he has actually a very nice chapter that I won't spoil about Ethereum, where he explains why this is so important. So this is one book I'd like to mention. The second one is a very uncertain book I love as a founder, which is, and I always forget the title of this book, but it's a book by Camilla Russo. She's the founder of the Defiant, which is a crypto media. It's basically talking about the genesis of Ethereum and how people like Vitalik, Joe Lublin banded together to build what we currently build on. This is a really inspiring book. This is really well written, super easy to understand, not too technical. So yeah, I would recommend it to anybody, interested in the space.
Nice. I feel like it's hard to not be interested in this space right now with everything going on. And on that note, let's talk about what's going on. So it's been a wild 24 hours in crypto. I thought you weren't going to show for the interview, and I was going to just be totally understanding because of everything that's happening. So what's your take on the situation with FTX, Binance? What are your views on what's happening and how this is all going to play out for the crypto ecosystem?
So I'm not going to talk about risk management here. I think we have people with way more skills than I have. What I feel is that crypto is like heavily driven by greed. Mm-hmm. And I think at some point we're witnessing a situation where people, forgot everything about good practices when it comes to risk management, fueled by growth and greed and greed and greed. And we had, and so many examples, like it's just like another Celsius, another BlockFi, where you're trying to, I guess in a way, it's like you're operating as a bank, but you're not, and you're not regulated as one. So you're able to take risk. And for those centralized players, you should have more regulations. You should have regulations in place to protect customers. Now, you might find surprising that I'm actually advocating for more regulations, but at least regulations give clarity and certainty. So it means that we can actually go back to building our businesses. Now, one of the things, and this is a very biased take on this whole, I think we can decently call it the shit show. My take is it's another proof that you need decentralization, right? If you think about it, one of the reasons why those guys, went bust, and I'm talking about FTX and the others, is because they had very opaque books. There's no transparency there. Nobody knew what they were doing with their customers' assets. And, I feel like what we're building, and we could talk about a product later, we're really proud to be building with self-custody, which means we're actually empowering, again, this idea of empowerment. So we're empowering users, customers, B2B customers here to actually manage the assets themselves, right? So they won't have to suffer from very risky investment practices that those guys clearly implemented. So this is a very biased take, but this is another example that self-custody is the future, is a good way to actually mitigate third-party risk. And we're actually super happy to be building with this kind of tech. I'd say last piece, in that same vein, I'd say. Each time there's such an event, each time there's such a controversy around centralized exchanges, there's a clear benefit for decentralized exchanges. Volumes naturally flow from those guys when people are able to withdraw funds to decentralized exchanges for the very same reasons I mentioned. So, I do believe, and that's probably the last part of your question, I do believe that in the end, this is going to be extremely positive for the whole thing, for the whole ecosystem, because it helps people understand that crypto is a change of paradigm and that we should, manage those assets differently as we do manage USD or, stocks or, those legacy asset class, this legacy asset class.
Yep, that makes a lot of sense. Do you think people are ever going to learn though? Because like Mt. Gox was what, a decade ago or 8 years ago now, and that was obviously a big deal at the time. But in comparison to FTX, it was nothing. I think it was like 400 million, which is obviously a large sum. But FTX, I think I read earlier that it could be like 6 to 10 billion, which is insane. Do you think people are ever going to learn, or do they just end up reverting back to whatever's easiest? And today, centralized exchanges are the easiest.
We see a clear trend here. For small amounts, centralized exchanges, especially for B2C, is the way to go. Mm-hmm. It's easy, the UX is great. But when it comes to larger transactions, larger amounts, there is growth in decentralized space. If you look at centralized exchanges and decentralized exchanges, there's a clear trend towards these guys, the new folks building decentralized in the decentralized fashion. Look at Uniswap. Uniswap growth has been way bigger than the overall space growth. So where do you think they got their clients from? They've been outgrowing Coinbase by like 10 times. Mm-hmm. So I do think that that the space, especially for larger amounts, is maturing. And hopefully there won't be another FTX where the vast majority of token holders and investors are actually B2B players, traders, professional traders, investment companies, not like on Coinbase where it's more like B2C. So I'm hopeful. I'm hopeful that we'll learn. And I'd say that, and if you read this book by Neil Ferguson, you'll see how many crises we've been through in order to have a robust, financial system. Mm-hmm. And this could be debated as well. So I do think that the learning curve is extremely positive here. I mean, I'm hopeful, but again, I'm biased because I'm a builder in the space, right?
I think it's good to be hopeful, right? If you had answered that and said you have no hope, that would be a pretty concerning interview.
Yeah, I don't have a very extreme view on this. What I feel, though, is that we will have a world where finance is increasingly hybrid between centralized and decentralized use cases. And that's the kind of world that we're building at Multis with this kind of hybrid account where we can manage both your assets in a self-custodial way with crypto and in a more traditional way with USD.
Nice. Well, let's take this and let's pivot to talk about your product and what you guys are building there. So I know you touched on it there at the start of the interview, but to just do a high-level pitch, let's say that I'm a Web3 company. What's the pitch that you're making for me to use your product?
We're Web3 banking for Web3 builders. So you can actually, open an account in 10 minutes, get your card, USD checking account, and exchange going in less than half a day. That's my pitch. If you look at the space now, opening a bank account as a Web3 company is hell. Opening an exchange account, it's even harder. You need months. We received an investment from Coinbase and we've never been able to open an account there. So my pitch to founders is you need a partner in that space because crypto is in jungle. You need the basics, to get started. You need to be able to store, to manage, to spend your funds indifferently, whether it is USD or crypto. And I do think that we have the most Web3 native banking solution out there. So it should be a no-brainer for you. Get started with us. You won't regret it.
I like the pitch. And what types of companies or organizations are you targeting? Is it like a couple of guys sitting there with a startup? Is it a company that's raised 10 million? What does that typically look like for the ideal target market where they really feel this pain and they can afford to pay someone to help them solve it?
Well, I do think that where we deliver the most value today is it's probably for early companies, early stage companies. So probably companies between two guys grinding in the basement to like we were to people of like 10 to 15 people raising the seed round or grinding towards the Series A. So this will be the natural fit for us because we provide the basic you need to get started and grow your business. Now we're increasingly attracting more mature company, Series A, Series B, Series C, because they, beyond the basic, they need more advanced crypto tools, which we've been able to build as well. So by crypto tools, I'm talking about mass payouts. I'm talking to run a payroll. I'm talking about, reporting features, because crypto is about several networks, several assets, hundreds of them. So you need to have like different tooling than what you could find with two solutions. So we see more and more of those guys popping in. But, coming to my previous point, I do think that the natural fit for us right now is more smaller companies who need basics to go back to business.
Makes a lot of sense. And is there a non-crypto company that you think is most similar to you? I know there's a lot of companies, in the spend management category, for example. Are there any companies that are non-crypto that seem very relevant to that product vision that you have?
Well, for this subset of early adopters, I would say that Mercury is the first company that comes to mind. They provide the basics, and then as soon as you hit the seed, they provide you with additional tools to scale the company, like QuickBooks integrations, and they have an amazing UX, and they can actually approve you quite fast as well. So I guess that's the natural competition for us. The main differentiator being, of course, that we are Web3 native. So we provide you with an exchange as well, so that you can spend directly from your crypto assets. And this is extremely important for companies, founders investigating or willing to launch a token, because we do offer you liquidity from Uniswap, Paraswap, so that you can actually sell out your token against USD and pay the rent. So this will be Mercury will be the first company that comes to mind. Brex and Ram.com are two amazing products. I'm a huge fan, but I'd say that they are more, especially Ram.com, they're targeting with the expense management features. They're targeting like especially bigger companies. We'll go there, but it's not a direct competitor yet.
Got it. Makes a lot of sense. And another question for you. Did you launch the company in 2018 or was it 2019?
So we launched in 2019. We incorporated the company in May or June 2019.
Got it. So was that considered the bear market, or what was happening in the crypto world in 2019?
Oh, that was bear market. I remember the first pitch we made in San Francisco before joining YC. There was so much skepticism, even throughout YC though. A lot of skepticism because a lot of people got burned during 2017 and the ICO craze. Mm-hmm. So there was a lot of, the whole crypto space was seen as a scam, right? And there was little understanding of the potential use cases that, many builders, ourselves included, were trying to build. So 2019 was not a good time to raise. I can tell you this.
Yeah, I can imagine. I think that's super relevant today. That's the talk that I hear, not just in the crypto world, but in the general startup tech venture capital world, that, investors are just kind of, issuing out these statements to founders to remind them that many of the greatest companies that exist today were built in bear markets. So now is the time to build if you want to go out and build.
And, we love this at Multis. Bull markets, creates euphoria. You get excited because you see the value of your portfolio increasing. Everything seems so easy, and you get distracted so fast from the core reason, the core mission that you're actually, executing, that you should be executing on. So bear markets are usually the best way to build those, those building blocks in order to be ready for the next bull market. And this is clearly what we do at Multis here.
Nice. I love that. And as you guys were planning the company, were you tempted to go after consumers? Because I feel like most of the crypto companies I see are targeting consumers, and I don't see that many that are taking a B2B approach. Was that a big decision for you to make?
No, never has. The reason is simple. And I think I probably, touched upon that at the beginning of our conversation. I love B2B. I love B2B because this is how you meet fellow founders, entrepreneurs, builders. And it's probably like you, Brett, when you talk to people in your podcast. Those founders, those entrepreneurs are full of energy. They're super optimistic. They believe in the future. They believe in what they're building. And this energy is like contagious. And I love it. It is the best way to learn. It is the best. I love meeting those founders and being able to, craft a product that delivers true value to them. I love to see, stars in their eyes. I love to be able to build relationship with them, which is something which I feel is harder with B2C, because you're talking about your business is about numbers much faster, right? You're doing surveys. You don't talk to people. I mean, you do, but in a less obvious way. So that was never a question. And there was always this belief that, we're early to the market, but this was inevitable as well. If you have B2C, if you have consumers using crypto, well, you necessarily have businesses providing services to them, which means these people need banking solutions as well.
Makes a lot of sense. Yeah, I feel a very similar way when it comes to B2B. I like B2B because then I'm essentially just marketing and selling to myself, which I can wrap my head around. If it goes to
Yeah.
B2C, then I can't understand what's really inside the mind of the modern consumer, especially if you look at it at scale of, what's inside the mind of, 50 million consumers. Like I have no idea, but I do know it's inside my own brain. So as long as I stick with B2B, it seems to work pretty well.
And I like the fact that B2B seems more resilient when you crack it. When you get to product market fit, when you manage to have customers loving you, you get ingrained in their operational setups, in their workflows. And that's how you can build a brand that lasts and that doesn't suffer from, well, bear markets, for example.
Makes a lot of sense. Totally agree with that. So on the note of, just surviving and hopefully thriving, are there any numbers or metrics you can share in terms of the traction and adoption that you're seeing with customers?
We have about 300 users right now, companies on the product, using the solution every month to run the payroll, to exchange, to spend with the cards. A significant part of them were, are beta testers. And I'm actually super proud that we managed to maintain them engaged with the product over the months. We've had people like Audios, we have people like, Axe Infinity, we've had people like, Connect. So really like flagship companies in the space. And well, we're actually grateful that they provided, so many insights and help us build a product.
Nice. Very cool. And what are you guys doing to really break through all the noise? Obviously, the crypto space, full of noisy companies. What I've seen is crypto startups and companies tend to be pretty good at marketing, at least compared to traditional enterprise B2B marketing. So, what are you guys doing to really rise above all that noise and stand out and acquire customers?
Right now, we're doing the obvious. We're reaching out to founders, directly. So it's mostly around, direct sales. We're trying to build relationships here. We're still, fortunate to be in that phase. And I'd say that marketing is not such a big thing with us for now. We'll be trying to build communities around, the main pain points that founders, have to go through when they build their businesses. But for now, I wouldn't say that Notice is rocking it in terms of marketing. We're like very traditional B2B SaaS sales, driven company.
Well, I appreciate the honesty there. I think most people there would take that chance to brag, oh, we're crushing here, we're doing this, we're doing that. So I appreciate the honesty. And it sounds like it's working for you guys. So that makes a lot of sense. As you've brought this idea to market, what would you say has been your greatest challenge and how'd you overcome that challenge?
I guess that the first biggest challenge we've had, I can tell you about two. The first one, and this ties back to being, early on the market, we had to educate people. We didn't have enough founders acquainted to Web3. We didn't have enough, Web3 companies to start with. So we had to do education. And one of the big learning here is that, if you have to do education around your product or your services, it means that you have not found product market fit and you are actually far from it. And we probably spent too much time doing this. So that's the first challenges. The second was to be at the forefront of this tech revolution. We built crazy things. We built layers, we built smart contracts before deciding that some of the people were better at this than we were. What we're doing here is aggregating the best services and smart contracts there are to offer a magical experience to our B2B customers. So probably took us too much time to do this as well. Being the first to integrate with Compound, being the first to build a layer to get rid of gas fees, being the first to do this and that and this and that. Well, we made so many technical mistakes. We never lost our customers' funds because this has always been a priority for us. But we made like many mistakes when it comes to build a great product. So this was another challenge. Pick the right smart contracts, pick the right tools, but never be the first one to do so.
That must be very hard to do, right? As a founder in this emerging space, how do you know what smart contracts to choose, which tools to use? It's all so new.
Oh my God.
I feel like there's no playbook, right? There's no blog post you can just go and read and
there's none.
figure.
There's none. I mean, I'd say that especially when it comes to admin and finance stuff, not necessarily building, but it's actually true for product development as well. A lot of the good practices you see in Web2 applies, but you need Web3 tooling to do so. How do you manage a community around, for example, to get feedback for your product? The crypto space is heavily community driven. So how do you actually leverage these amazing people, with your product? How do you get this feedback? Well, this is a new paradigm, and none of the tooling that you have in Web2 applies here. So, well, whether it's smart contracts or less sophisticated tools, very often you have to come up with them, you have to create them, you have to build them, which is a distraction from building a business. So you always have this kind of trade-offs to do, which makes it super hard, super hard.
Makes a lot of sense. And last question here. I know we're up on time. If we zoom out into the future, what's the 5-year vision for Multis?
Well, we want to be the golden standard for any Web3 companies willing to build. I'd say further, we want to be the financial backbone of the Web3 economy. That's what we want to build.
Nice. I love it. All right. So let's wrap. But before we do, if people want to follow along with your journey as you build, where's the best place for them to go?
Well, we do have a Twitter channel, even though, like I mentioned, we're not the best, at it. It's Multis HQ, very simply. Multis.com is actually a good source of information. We share a lot of things there, including all the challenges we have building a product. And we will be increasingly communicated on founders topic, like fundraising, people management, on those channels as well as LinkedIn. So this is the best place to find us.
Amazing. Well, thanks so much for taking the time to chat with us and share what you're building and share your vision. It's all super exciting, and wish you the best of luck as you execute on this vision.
Thanks so much for having me, Brent.
All right. Keep in touch.